Hey y'all, today, whenever you're listening to this, of course it's Matt Rogers, but today again we have Ed Kracz, a friend of the show. If you follow if you follow the Eagles in Philadelphia sports, you definitely are familiar with Ed Kratz's work. But Ed, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hey Matt, good to be with you. Happy holidays, happy New Year to you and everybody listening. You can find my work. I've been covering the Eagles for a dozen years. You can find me at si.com /NFL/Eagles, or follow me on Twitter at Kratze, Kracze.
So let's get right into it. The Birds went and lost for the second time, and of course, I predicted. I thought the Eagles would go 11-6. So 2 losses. I'm like, we're way ahead of schedule. I'm not one of those the sky is falling kind of fans in general. Phillies, Sixers, Eagles. It's not kind of how I go about fandom. But 13. We're now 13-2. Most of the power rankings still have the Eagles as first. There is a couple. I saw a fourth. I saw a second. Is that your reaction as well to the loss, or are you of a different mind about that?
Yeah, listen, I mean, the Eagles had their backup quarterback in, right, Gardner Minshew, and he threw 2 interceptions and botched an exchanged handoff, and the Eagles made 4 turnovers. You wonder if Jalen Hurts would have been playing in this game, and that's maybe why I would still have them in my top 2, maybe 3, is because they had their backup. And you wonder if Jalen Hurts had been playing, if they could put 50 up on the Cowboys, because I don't think he's throwing 2 interceptions against the Cowboys and giving them that good field position. So, and the Cowboys couldn't stop the Eagles. The Eagles only stopped themselves, right? I mean,
that's right.
The Eagles didn't punt the entire game. So, if they have better ball security, they probably win. So I think you have to factor in that Minshew was the quarterback. And, I would still have them in my top 3. I mean, the Eagles aren't suddenly a bad team because they lost 1 game and just their second game on Christmas Eve of the season. Think about that. I mean, Christmas Eve, and they lost for the second time. I mean, that's just amazing to me. So I still think they're a good team, and they deserve to be in the top 3 still.
Do you think that there are any teams? I know now, post the loss and a couple of the throws. I mean, I think he was. My opinion is a lot of that 350 that Gardner was able to put up on the Cowboys was a lot of the Eagles receivers making some just fantastic catches. It's just ridiculous. Do you think that the conversation now about him potentially being somebody's starter, do you think that that's still ongoing, or do you think that like the result last Sunday and potentially maybe what we may see him is that is still a possibility here? We see him for the Saints and possibly even the Giants, right?
Yeah, very good possibility. We're early in the week here. I don't think anybody knows for sure the status of Jalen Hurts, and including Jalen Hurts and probably the Eagles coaches and medical personnel, because he's still being evaluated on a day-to-day basis. There's a good chance we could see Minshew. He put up the 355, had the 2 picks. His receivers, though, were just, Devontae Smith was making just incredible. And in fact, had they won that game, Devontae Smith's a huge story coming out of it because of what, some of those catches that he made. And then A.J. Brown. I mean, this is the first time, in Eagles history that they've had 2 receivers go over 1,000 yards in the same season. And that's not easy to do. I'd bet there are a lot of teams that haven't had 2 receivers over 1,000 yards in the same season, not just the Eagles. But they have gotten it done. And you hope that if Minshew has to play, that he's learned from, he's shaken off some of that so-called rust that we see. I mean, remember, this was his first start since last December against the Jets. Well, actually, he made a start against the Cowboys in a meaningless regular season finale with
that's right
in there. No pressure whatsoever. Really, it's been a long time since he started. So there's some things he could correct with his footwork and, his decision making. But you hope that if he has to play for a second week in a row, that he's even better in those departments against the Saints, and the Eagles get that victory that they need to wrap up home field and the division title.
To be if the Eagles the pressure's really on for the Birds if they're not able, Minshew or not, if they're not able to take care of business against the Saints, you got larger questions. Or I think you're gonna have people are always a little in the Philadelphia sports echo chamber, a little very sensitive to a loss and a very a disappointing performance. But there may be some merit to it should potentially the Saints go into Lincoln Financial Field and come out with a W, whether it's Minshew or not.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Then you're down to, well, listen, the Eagles are going to know if they wrapped up the NFC East by the end of Thursday night, because the Cowboys play Thursday against the Titans. So if the Cowboys lose, then the Eagles don't have to do anything. They're the NFC East champs. Now, obviously there's bigger things ahead. They would need the Vikings to lose as well on Sunday. I think they play. So, you're not wrapped up with the number one seed yet.
so we were talking about Gardner Minshew. We've been having some technical difficulties, but it looks like for the moment that the storm has passed. So we were talking about Gardner Minshew, and so we're likely to see him. I was asking you if you think it's more than 50-50 chance that we see Gardner Minshew this week, and how do you expect him to play if that's the case?
Yeah, well, you hope Minshew plays a little bit better. Obviously, if this were to be his second straight start, there were some things he needs to correct, footwork stuff, decision making. But you have to remember, it's been close to a year since he played in an NFL game, or at least started an NFL game. He played in some mop-up duty earlier this year when the Eagles had big leads, but just not the same. And, is he a 50-50 chance of playing? I think, it's a day-to-day situation. I mean, with Hurts and this shoulder injury, you don't know exactly how he's going to feel as the week goes on. The coach has been, Sirianni said consistently, if he can play, he's our starter, he'll play, but we just don't know. You hope that if Minshew has to play, that he takes some steps from what he did against the Cowboys.
Absolutely. Have you seen anybody? I saw a lot of players, of course, tweeting after the game and social media and a lot of interviewing that you guys were doing of them. Have you seen anybody really stepping up? More, other than the expected people, kind of an unexpected, like, hey, let's get this ship turned around kind of guy, or is it the ones you would expect, the Fletcher Cox, the Darius Slays, those kind of guys?
Yeah, I think it's just the same guys that have been leading this team, consistently throughout the season. Your veteran leadership. Obviously Hurts is a big leader on this team, and behind the scenes, yeah, he's helping. But listen, like we talked about earlier, the sky's not falling here. The Eagles lost for just the second time on Christmas Eve, and you just don't start doing anything differently or start going outside you as a person and trying to do more. If you're a quiet guy, and you're not going to all of a sudden start yelling and screaming and let's go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just stay within yourself and just keep grinding and keep doing what you're doing. You've won 13 games. You've lost twice. There's no need to do anything different.
Absolutely. One of our key leaders, he'll still have an opportunity to be a vocal leader, but it's a little different when you're not in the locker room. Is Lane Johnson, or when you're not playing, when you're not on the field. What do you expect to happen there at the left tackle and right tackle positions?
Yeah, I think Jack Driscoll will probably be the guy, at least for these final two games, and then we'll see. We'll see how he does. You want to have some continuity on the line if Lane can't answer the bell once the playoffs start. So you hope Jack Driscoll can sort of rise to the occasion. We saw him step in at left guard or left tackle this year when Mailata went down, but he's more of a right tackle. To me, he's more of a guard. The Eagles really need a swing tackle, and it's a shame that
That's right.
Andre Dillard couldn't be that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that kind of hampers you, but it's going to be Jack Driscoll, I think. Now, I think if you have some issues, it could be a problem in the playoffs. You might have to readjust and rethink, but I think for these final two games, it's going to be Driscoll.
It's time. It's an opportunity for Jack to have a step up moment for himself. I mean, that when Andre, now people think fondly of Andre Diller, but his name wasn't so revered in the Philadelphia Eagles fandom nation, and he got thrust into important playing time. Jack, this is Jack's time to kind of show that he can play in this league.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you think back to 2017 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. They lost Jason Peters halfway through the year, and Halapoulivaati Vaitai stepped in, and they really didn't miss a beat. So you kind of hope that with Lane Johnson kind of behind the scenes coaching him, as well as Jeff Stoutland getting him ready to play and to prepare for each week's opponent, that Driscoll can step up because they need him to.
Absolutely. What are you thinking? Another player that unfortunately has gone down for a while, but could be coming back soon. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. How soon do you see him coming back, and in what position do you think they will roll him out in the slot, or they'll keep him where he's at?
Well, another tricky injury situation, just like Hurts's shoulder. You have C.J. Johnson here with the lacerated kidney. That doesn't sound like you can really rehab that. I mean, I don't know how you would rehab a lacerated kidney.
That's
It's
right.
just going to be rest, and you hope that it heals itself with the rest. So, he's eligible to come back against the team that traded him, which would be really nice to see, a little vengeance. But we don't know. I mean, I would expect that they'll open his practice window this week. But that doesn't mean he's going to come back. We saw Dallas Goedert, his practice window got opened up before the Chicago Bears game, and they didn't activate him until after the Bears game. So, I would expect Gardner Johnson's practice window to open. Then you have 21 days before you have to make a decision whether to add him to the roster or shut him down for the season. But hard to say. And if he does come back, or when he does come back, we saw when Avonte Maddox got hurt, and Maddox is injured too. We're talking about Lane, but Maddox has a pretty serious injury here too. When Maddox went on the IR, they were fine with Josiah Scott being plugged in there at the slot, and they kept Chauncey back at safety. So, listen, I would expect maybe more of the same. CeeDee Lamb is a very talented receiver. Josiah Scott had some trouble with him when Maddox went down. But every team you play is not going to have a CeeDee Lamb on it. The Saints have Chris Olave, but I think he's more of a, he lines up outside more often than not. I might not. So every team.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
Yeah. So listen, I think they would like to keep it, business as usual with Scott, and then. But here's another thing about that is Reed Blankenship has really kind of stepped in and done pretty well. So they might say, hey, Reed and Marcus Epps, you're the guys that are going to be our back line, and we are going to play CJ in the slot. That to me makes more sense, actually, because of the way Blankenship has proven that he can play in this league. And maybe you mix it up. Maybe you kind of float CJ back and forth, slot, safety, slot. You put Scott in. I mean, it just gives you more options if you're Jonathan Gannon.
Absolutely. And the emergence, to your point, great point. Reed Blankenship has his stock is sky high compared to several weeks. I mean, the guy was not in the league. He was a practice squad guy. So it's 32. Way to go. So according to Field Yates, the Eagles are trying out former Cowboys tight end Blake Jarwin. Do you think that that's bye-bye to Tyree Jackson or Calcaterra, or that's just them giving him a tryout?
Well, I mean, do you know what Blake Jarwin's numbers are? I mean, I don't really know what he's done in the NFL I'm sure he's had some catches, but he's
been fine. He's been fine,
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Eagles kick the tires on a lot of guys. I know they like Calcaterra. I don't think it's bye-bye to Grant Calcaterra. I think they're pretty high on the 6th-round pick.
Okay.
Tyree Jackson, they already put him back on the IR with a knee injury after he missed, most of the season rehabbing an ACL that he tore in the last game last season. So they don't have to make a decision on Tyree Jackson. He's on the IR, and I expect he to stay there until summer, and he'll be back on the 90-man roster. And maybe that's what they're exploring with Blake Jarwin. Maybe they sign him to a futures contract when it's time to do those kinds of things. So I don't see him replacing anybody on this roster as of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just think they're kicking the tires, and maybe if he's not signed or he's still out there in January or February, whenever you have to do your futures contracts, he gets one of those.
It's unfortunate how it's happened with Tyree Jackson. I mean, he just simply can't, unfortunately, stay on the field to make the plays that it seems like he should be able to make. It's been frustrating.
Yeah,
definitely for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he can't. He's trying to transition from a college quarterback where he played at Buffalo to the tight end spot, and when you're on IR, you can't be practicing with the team, so you have to kind of go and do your work and get in what you can to try to make that transition successful. So I'm not sure we'll ever see him do it.
Yeah,
he had, but again, he's still young enough, and he seems determined enough where it could click for him, and he could stay healthy, and maybe at some point down the road he'll end up helping the team.
Absolutely. Another potential person apparently that wants their tires to be kicked is Cravon LeBlanc. Do you think there's anything to that whole discussion?
Well, it's funny the way you put it. He wants his tires kicked because he's the one that put it out there. Hey, if there's anybody that has any injuries, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Come take a look.
That's what's going on. I mean,
that's exactly what's going on. Strap. His nickname was Strap. Listen, if he, which is a strange. I don't think I'd want to be called Strap, but whatever. He, I don't know what he ever did. I know the fans loved him, and he made some plays in his time here, but is he the answer after not being here all year? I mean, you look at a guy like Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, guys they brought in, after week whatever, 11 or 12. But these guys are Super Bowl winners. These guys are lighting Hall of Fame type resumes. Strap, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that resume.
No.
So
he's got a couple of flashes in the pan, though. He has some couple of very nice plays on a 3rd and 4. He'll hit the guy really hard and make it 4th and 1, make him punt.
Again, he's not on any team. He's not on any practice squad. So, why is that? Is that because he's waiting for the Eagles to call him, or because no team has called him? I mean,
that's right.
I don't think he helps this team at all. They have Anthony Harris sitting on the practice squad still. Maybe he plays a role at some point here in the last couple games. I don't know. But, I don't think I'd bring back the Strap. I don't think I'd
I was in the summer talking about Anthony Harris. I was shocked that this team actually moved on from Anthony Harris because he played such a big role for them last year. But I was seeing the attrition in his speed. I mean, the guy significantly slowed down and was having real trouble with guys, with that top end speed. And so, I don't like to kind of talk down guys, but you may be better off with Josiah Scott. I think Josiah Scott, the big plays that Josiah Scott gave up in the Cowboys game were more mental than physical. I mean, Scott's got the physical tools. He's shown that quite a bit here this year.
Yeah, with Harris, I mean, and the Eagles, I mean, you look at all the good things Howie Roseman did in the offseason. I mean, you could say they made the wrong decision to bring back Harris instead of Rodney McLeod. I mean, they had their choice there. Which safety they bring back, and they went with the younger, less injury history that Harris has over McLeod, who's older, has more of an injury history, and Rodney's getting the job done still in Indianapolis, having a nice season there on a very bad team. So the one mistake you could look at that Roseman made was choosing the wrong safety, because it was evident that Harris was kind of he had become more of an average player.
That's right.
Years of excelling in Minnesota. It just sooner or later, those skills leave you for whatever reason. So, Scott could probably give him more than Harris can at this point. And you're right. I mean, Scott's got the physical traits, and Jonathan Gannon touched on it on Tuesday when he said that, it's his job to make sure a player knows what he's doing in our
That's
defense. And
right.
that, to me, is an indication that Scott may not have been prepped properly for what his role was in that particular scheme or design of the defensive call.
That's right.
So, listen, he's a young kid, but he does have a skill set that can play in this league. And, he's prone to mistakes just like any other young player. And, that might have been on the coaches for not explaining to him where he needed to be and what his role was on that particular call. So I'm not giving up on Scott.
No.
I think he'll still play some meaningful snaps over these last 2 games and maybe into the playoffs as well.
Absolutely, and you made a good point earlier. Not every team has a CeeDee Lamb. That guy is a very, very good playmaker. He didn't drop any balls.
Right.
There were a couple of blown coverages, so to that point, with CeeDee Lamb, and the unfortunately, if the Eagles were to play the Cowboys, it looks like how things are shaking out in the playoffs. It would be a second round divisional game in Philadelphia. Most likely, Avonte Maddox is not back. He could be, but I'm not a doctor. So, but the people I've seen talking about these things seem to think that he could be out for a good bit. Would you have Slay more so traveling, or do they just need to coach it up better and be ready to run the system that they run and be ready for CeeDee Lamb to kind of try to make plays from the slot in the playoffs if it comes to that?
Well, yeah, whatever they did against Justin Jefferson when Minnesota came here in week 2, when they shut him down, they need to do that against CeeDee Lamb because he's really their only weapon. I mean, T.Y. Hilton now will have been there for, more weeks than he was. He's only there 2 weeks, and he makes that big 52-yard catch that was really kind of the turning point of that game, in my opinion, obviously.
It was.
So you take CeeDee, you got to figure out a way to take CeeDee Lamb out of the game as best you can, knowing that he's going to make some catches and he's going to get some yards, but you don't want him going, 8 catches for 115 yards on you. If you can hold him to 5 for 60 or something like that, that's more manageable. You can't let him get open for wide open 36-yard touchdown catches like he had, on Christmas Eve. So you got to figure out a way. And whatever that way is, whoever your personnel is, you got to do it because that's really their only weapon in the pass game.
That's right.
You take him away, and it's not easy. He's a great player, just like Justin Jefferson's a great player, but the Eagles took Justin Jefferson out of it. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to do it against. I know Maddox was healthy, and that's a big reason. But you're going to have to figure out a way because that guy will kill you, as we saw.
Absolutely. There's been some talk with the Buccaneers looking like they may lock up the NFC South pretty soon, especially with the Eagles' help on Sunday. Potentially, there's been some talk again about should a sub 500 football team get to host a divisional playoff or a playoff game where they would host a wild card team with a much better record. What do you think there? You win your division, you get to host, or you think that they should change that up?
Well, I don't know what you would change it to, but even if there was a formula out there where you could change it, I say keep it the way it is. I mean, we don't see every year divisions that are this bad. We've seen it in the past, but it's more of an anomaly than anything else. So yeah, I would keep it the same. There's got to be some reward, I think, for winning your division, no matter how bad it is. You're the worst of a bad lot. At least you won. You somehow were able to rise above the slop that was in your division. So you got to give some kind of credit to that. And a home playoff game, sure. If you're a wild card team and you're going to that team's site, well, take care of business. If you're
that's right.
Cowboys and you're 12-4 or whatever, 5, whatever you're going to finish record wise, and you have to go to an 8-9 Tampa team, well, then show why you're better. It's as simple as that. I don't care where you play it. Be better. You were better all year. Be better in a playoff game. So I don't have a problem with the home team hosting them. Whether you have a losing record or not, give them a reward. Let them have that home game.
I like that. Let's pick. Speaking of the rest of the league, let's pick some of these games. We got Cowboys are 10-point favorites. You talked about the Thursday night football. The Eagles will know If they could know if they've locked it up. If the Cowboys win, then the Eagles won't know until about 4:30 on Sunday. But what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? And what do you think about that line, the 10-point line there?
Well, I think it's because the Titans don't really need to win the game. They can still win the division and get in the playoffs if they beat Jacksonville in the final game of the year. And so Thursday night's game for the Titans means nothing. Sunday's game with the Jags, I think they're on Sunday. That means nothing to the Jags. They could both lose. They could both win. One could win. One could lose. It doesn't matter. It's going to come down to that final game of the season. So I'm not sure how many players the Titans are going to play, meaningful players. I know Derrick Henry's probably going to sit this one out. He's a little banged up. They've already lost Ryan Tannehill, right? So, I mean, this team, I don't think the Titans have won since, they came into Philadelphia,
That's right.
They haven't won since. They've been sliding down the ladder here, and it would behoove them to play well, to put your starters out there and play and snap this.
Get some momentum,
exactly.
maybe.
Get some confidence, start feeling good about yourself again instead of, probably being miserable because you're losing for the last month and a half. Go out and win a game, strap on your pants, your big boy pants, and get it done.
Against America's team.
Against America. Right, exactly. So, but, maybe that's part of the reason for the line is that the Titans aren't expected to really play it with all that type of urgency, which I think is a mistake. But
it is.
Whatever Mike Vrabel feels is best for his team is what he's going to do. So, that's probably the reason for the line. And that's probably why, gosh, I think the Titans can win the game, to be honest. We'll see how Dallas is able to. That was a big emotional win for Dallas. That was probably the best game they played all season. I haven't seen every one of their games, but that was probably the best they've played all year. Now, can they build on that, or are they going to go back to being the same old Cowboys where, you start smelling yourself and, next thing you know, you're on the losing end of a score. If this game meant something to the Titans and they were playing guys that they're supposed to play, then I think they win. But it's going to be hard, I think, for them to beat the Cowboys, who, we'll see if they can recapture this emotional energy that they had against the Eagles and find a way to beat the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real opportunity. Obviously, people know who my favorite team is, but it's an opportunity for that team to show that they're not the same old Cowboys. They're the same old Cowboys if they come out and after beating the Eagles on Christmas Eve, if they go out and then lose to the Titans, who haven't won, like you said, in a month and a half. And that is just a total wrong way to now. It is a quick turnaround, semi-quick turnaround, because you get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you're playing on the fifth day, Thursday. So it's not as it's a quicker turnaround on the road in Tennessee. So we'll see. But if the Titans play, you said that they're not going to play anybody. So does that mean they're going to sit Malik Willis too and put somebody else in?
Well, who is that somebody else? I think that somebody else played recently. I don't remember who it was.
Oh gosh.
But
that's what we're doing on Thursday Night Football. They need to flex the Thursday night.
If they could, they probably would. But they're stuck with it. And, it's probably, the Cowboys will probably win by 10 points. I would say I would take that spread and pick the Cowboys in that game. But, this game doesn't mean anything to the Titans. Win or lose, they're still going to be playing to get in the playoffs on the final weekend of the regular season. So, I don't think Vrabel will play. Maybe he'll play these guys for a little bit, his starters, but probably be pretty liberal in his rotation and his substitution patterns to kind of give some guys some rest and get them ready to, go all out on week 18 against the Jags.
It's great that the NFL moved to this format where you play a division, you finish off the season against a divisional rival. It's pretty cool. Everybody does that. It's a really cool feature that happens these days. You got the speaking of divisional games, you got the Panthers and the Bucks. Bucks are 3-point favorites there, but that's that division is just so tight, razor thin margins.
Yeah, but I think the Panthers are probably playing the best of all those teams. I mean, they fired Matt Rule. who's 1-5, and you bring in Steve Wilkes, who is, a retread, had coached before, didn't have a lot of success. And what's he won, like 5 of 6 or something? I mean, he's really
That's right.
got them playing great football. I mean, he's put them back in the playoff mix here in the division hunt. So you wonder if they'll just hire Steve Wilkes. I would. I'd probably give him another shot.
Right.
I mean, and then go get yourself a quarterback, right? I mean, they're still kind of, they got rid of Baker Mayfield, but you have Sam Darnold, you have the kid from Temple, whose name's escaping me, but yeah, you got to go out and probably get a quarterback. PJ something.
Yes.
PJ, right, know what I'm talking about? PJ?
I know what you're talking about, but Walker.
Right.
Yeah,
PJ Walker,
right.
I think it is. Yeah. Right. Good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you probably got to go get a quarterback if you're Carolina, but they may have found themselves another, a head coach with Steve Wilkes. I mean, he's done a really nice job putting this team back in the mix. So, what's the line on that game? Minus
-3?
Favored by 3. It's at Tampa.
Yeah.
Man,
it's at Tampa. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, I think Carolina can go in and win. I mean, Tampa's not. They're bad. They barely found a way to win, right, against whoever it was they beat last time out. But they haven't been a very consistent team, all year. And Carolina's playing well, so I would probably take Carolina in that game.
It's so interesting. And then let me see who Tampa Bay finishes against. Let's see who they finish against. They finish against the Falcons, who finally put in DJ Ritter. So it'd be interesting.
Is he going by DJ now, or is it Desmond? I think it's Desmond. Unless he's going by DJ now. I don't know. Ritter.
I heard someone calling him DJ. I think that I don't know why, but then it kind of stuck in my brain. So thanks for
it could be DJ. I don't know. But he was one of I liked him coming out of the draft, Ritter. I thought my favorite quarterback coming out was Sam Howell, who's in Washington, and they don't seem to have any inclination to play him. So maybe he's not as good as I thought he was going to be. Listen, I'm not a talent evaluator because I like Desmond Ritter too, and he hasn't proven to be a whole, anything really special so far. But it's young; these guys are young. It's early, but Atlanta gets by with its running game, and
that's right.
You might be able to run on the Bucs and kind of put a dent in their playoff hopes, especially if Carolina finds a way to win on Sunday.
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Vikings are surprisingly the 2 seed Vikings are 3.5-point dogs in Green Bay. So what are you thinking about that one?
Wow. Well, they were 3.5-point dogs, I think, to the Lions when the Vikings played the Lions, and I'm thinking, man, that's a weird line. And then sure enough,
and then it happened.
Yeah, the Lions beat them. They didn't even need the 3.5. So. The Packers are playing well. The Packers are playing for, getting into the playoffs. As amazing as that sounds, I thought when they left Philadelphia that they were dead.
That's right.
I think they were 4-8 at the time when they left.
I think so too. Yeah,
and they've won 3 in a row now. They're 7-8. I mean, they're right in the mix. They got a lot of help this past weekend with teams losing. So this is a big game, and it's in Green Bay, I think you said. So. Yeah, man, give me the Pack. I'll lay the points on that. I'll take the Pack to beat the Vikings. The Vikings are just they survive by the skin of their teeth every single week. And kudos to them for doing it. They find a way to win, but I think eventually that's got to catch up with you at some point.
Yeah, cubic zirconia, the total.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, great for them for that ridiculous comeback a couple of weeks ago against the Colts, but to need that is scary because the Colts are not good. We just watched the Colts.
Terrible. Was that who the Bucs beat? Was that who Tampa beat? Somebody beat the Colts. Oh no, wait, that was last.
That Monday night, the
Chargers. Yeah. Gosh, I can't even remember. But, Colts are bad. And the Eagles almost lost to them, 17-16. But that was, again, the ebbs and flows of the NFL season, right? The Eagles are going into Indianapolis against the head coach and Jeff Saturday, who just rallied the troops and won his first game as a head coach the week before. So he's feeling good. The team's feeling good, and they played well. They played like they had a belief, and the Eagles found a way to get by. Kudos to the Eagles. A lot of resiliency, but the Colts have fallen on hard times, and man, they're a mess. They have so many holes. But yeah, the Vikings found a way, and they've been finding a way all year. But I got to think sooner or later, that magic goes away, and you're not going to win every game that comes down to the wire. I just don't. I mean, eventually the law of averages catches up to you. And if the Vikings didn't have a dome now, it'd be cool. You'd say, hey, they're both two cold weather teams, no advantage. But now the Vikings play in a hot house. So, it's advantage Green Bay on the tundra here at the end of December. I think Green Bay wins.
The Bills are 1-point favorites at the Bengals, which is going to be the game of the weekend by far. The potential fight for the 1 seed, especially depending on what Kansas City does this weekend. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, that's that game is in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Boy, two teams red hot, right? I think the Bengals have won 7 in a row. The Bills have won 6 in a row. Do you know what time that game is? I mean, I'd like to watch that game, but I don't know if I'll be able.
Yeah, let's see. Consulting the Google, y'all. Hold on one second.
Yeah, do it, man. Because if it's 1 o'clock, I'm not too happy because I'll be sitting there.
Oh, it's Monday Night Football.
Oh,
Monday Night Football.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a must watch because that'll be a really good game.
Oh, yeah.
And like the Eagles are playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC, a win gives it to them against the Saints. Same with the Bills, a win gives it to them against the Bengals. If not, that opens up the door, I think, for the Chiefs maybe to come in there. And
That's right.
So, Buffalo's got to rise up here, man. They got to rise to the occasion. And I don't know who to pick there. I mean, that's a tough call, I like both of these teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to root against one. Neither team has won a Super Bowl in their history. So, after seeing what it meant to the people in Philadelphia when the Eagles won, I'd like to see some other cities experience it for the first time because it means a lot to the diehard fan to bring that kind of joy to your city if you're a player. So, I don't know. I guess I would probably take the Bills in this game, but not confidently would I take that, and not with my heart because I like both teams.
I agree with you. I take the Bills, but not confidently because this year Josh Allen is turned into like the modern day Brett Favre, where he makes unbelievable plays that take your breath away, but it takes your breath away in both directions. It's like, what did I just watch him do? Like, why did I just see him do this?
Mm-hmm.
And that is happening far too frequently right now. It's nowhere near on the Carson Wentz scale. It never got to the really bad Carson Wentz, like the Sione Taki pick 6 he threw in Cleveland. Never like that, but there's some like boneheaded stuff that Josh Allen's doing now. And Joe Burrow's a cool character, a cool operator, man. He is.
Yes, he is.
He's dangerous.
Oh yeah, but they lost their tackle. Lael Collins, I think, went out with an ACL and an MCL, and I think that's going to maybe leave a mark. I don't know who the backup is, but it's like the Eagles losing Lane Johnson. It's a tough situation when you have to replace someone who is playing so well, and we'll see how the Bengals manage that.
Absolutely. And it's in Cincinnati, Monday Night Football, y'all. So you all definitely hear this before then. You should definitely watch that. Will the Eagles lock up the 1 seed on Sunday at 1?
It's kind of an interesting game the Eagles are going to play because not only can they do that, but they can help their draft status, right? Because they own the number 1 pick from the Saints. So it's a win-win if they can do it. They wrap everything up and they improve their draft status. So I think the Eagles are going to do it. They've been away for 3 straight weeks. A lot of challenges to that. They haven't played a home game really since, gosh, what, the beginning of December when they had
The Titans
Titans
was
here
it?
on the
Yeah.
4th, I think.
Yep.
So this is their first home game in a while. I think the place is going to be electric. It's New Year's Day. It's going to be a festive atmosphere. And by festive, you know what I mean? A lot of drunks
I
will
know
be
what you mean.
patrolling the corridors and the concourses of Lincoln Financial Field.
That
So
is right.
there's going to be a lot of energy and juice among the fan base for this game. And
Literal juice.
literal juice. Yeah, right. Yep. There's going to be some spike juice running around. But I think the Eagles do find a way to get it done somehow. I think they'll win this game. Um, Andy Dalton's the quarterback. His weapons are Chris Olave, who I like a lot, Calvin Kamara. So,
Yeah.
you're going to have to listen. The Eagles have 61 sacks, and Andy Dalton isn't known for his wheels,
No.
shall we say. So they've had 4 straight weeks of 6+ sacks. And that's the
It's
first time
ridiculous.
anybody's done that since 1982 in the NFL. So I think this could be another, get to Andy Dalton game and then try to turn the ball over. They haven't done a really good job of doing that, and they've been careless with the ball. They've had 7
That's right.
turnovers the last 2 games. So to win this game, they need to take care of the ball. You could say that every week, but especially this week because they've had 7 turnovers. Miles Sanders has fumbled in 2 straight games. Can't do it. And I think you have to get after Dalton and put some pressure on him and force him into mistakes. But I think the Eagles will win this game, and I think they'll cover. I think whatever the line is, 6.5, whatever it opened at, I think they'll win by a touchdown or more.
I'll be in the building. I won't have any spike juice, but I'll know some people there who are engaging in that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Ed, what can we look forward to from you? Heading into the postseason, they got Ray Diddy coming back. What do you got going on? Ed, for the
I don't have
postseason?
Ray Diddy coming back for me, but I'll just like the Eagles. I just keep grinding, man. Whatever comes up, I'll be writing about it. Whatever news is out there, I'll write about it. I'll try to find the feature story that I always try to find. I wrote about Jordan Mailata seeing his parents for the first time in 3 years on Christmas Day. Flew him in.
Oh give
I like to write the feature stories. Kind of put a face to the number, or a personality to the number of each player. Give fans a look behind just the helmet that they wear. These are people too, and sometimes we lose track of that. So I try to do a little, human interest stuff. So yeah, it's just business as usual. Whether I write a good story or a bad story, win or lose, man, I just keep throwing them out there. So that's all. That's what you can look forward to.
Absolutely. And you all can follow him at Kracz on Twitter. And me, I'm at POLITIDOPE. There's also the Mention Pod on Twitter, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Ed, see you soon.
Happy New Year.